Hello everybody.
Good evening, Sunday night. It must be John and Michelle for our Satsang, Sunday night Satsang. And tonight we've got quite an interesting subject. It's a journey of souls, journey of souls.
Absolutely, and we're just going to chat and see what we can share with you that from our experience and from what we've learned on our journeys individually and together. So we're happy to be spending the hour with you, and we see some of you are joining us, so welcome. Lovely to have you with us.
So tonight is Journey of Souls, and I must just tell you that we don't subscribe to any particular belief system, any philosophy, any religion. This is just information that we have gathered on our journey. Just to so we will share our information as evening goes. All right, but welcome to everyone joining us. It's lovely to have you here with us. I believe we're building quite a nice community, and I think anchoring the light, which is very needed at this time on planet Earth. So the more of us who gather together here, the stronger the light. It actually increases exponentially into the world as we gather together. Say where two or more gathered, there I am, and there's far more than two gathering with us tonight. So it's lovely to have you all, and we see quite a few familiar faces along the top. Welcome to those who have been with us before, and to those who are joining us for the very first time. My name is John Homewood. I'm an integrative life coach. I do online coaching and we run online courses. And Michelle is an astrologer and also a very good coach, life coach. So if you need any astrology or life coaching, come to us. Our website, which you can visit, our combined website is journeysofawakening.com. And on there you can have a look at our courses that we're running. And we've got a new course starting on the 10th of July. August. God, already in July. 10th of August. Be lovely for you to join us. It's a 13-week journey into freedom. And then, Michelle, you've got your own website?
Yeah, which is solarpower.com. It's SOULR-power.com. And John's got his.
Yeah, johnhomewood.net. Johnhomewood.net. And take a look at our websites, and we have got a lot of additional information there for you. So if you enjoy what you experienced tonight, then you can go further with our websites.
Yeah, there's a resource section at the end, and there's lots of videos and all sorts of resources there that you can access.
That's on journeysofawakening.com.
Yeah.
So we're going to start, as we always start, by just a short centering meditation, just to bring us fully present. We've all had hopefully a lovely, restful weekend, but I know that those minds get very busy. So what we're going to do is spend just a few minutes centering ourselves, coming back into reality. The only problem that we ever have is that we never, in reality, we spend so much of our time in the story in our heads, caught up with the thoughts and the emotions that we are generating in our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. So how we start the satsangs is always by withdrawing our mind from all of the times and all of the places and just becoming centered in this present moment right now, the only moment that is real for us. So just gently close your eyes and settle back onto your chairs. Hopefully you've got a nice comfortable chair, or maybe lying on the bed, maybe on the floor with some cushions. That's all beautiful. Just see that your body is very comfortable. Maybe you've lit a candle, some incense is a good idea, but none of that is necessary. Just shut your eyes and just center yourselves in the present moment. And we do that by focusing our awareness, our attention on an object that isn't really an object, but is always with us. And the more we focus our attention on this, the calmer, the more peaceful, the more centered, the more intelligent, the more able we are to solve problems creatively, the more loving, and the more we are able to fully open ourselves to the gift of life. And this is the breath. So let's take a deep breath in, right down into our belly button, pushing our tummy out like a big ball, and then releasing it gradually and slowly. Let's try that again. So we take a deep breath in, we're relaxing our diaphragm, we're pulling our diaphragm down, which pushes our tummy out, big, 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 big. And then we release, we surrender, and we relax our shoulders and our neck muscles as we do that. Let's try that again. A deep breath in, pulling your diaphragm down, expanding your tummy. Imagine the air going right down to those toes. And then that relaxing, releasing, surrendering out breath. Long, long, long out breath. And now just allow life to breathe you. Gently in, and the pause, and the gentle out breath. Just by focusing our awareness on this incredible gift called the gift of life, which is the breath, we very quickly center our awareness into a far more peaceful, far more centered place. And the breath is always with us. So our advice is that during the day you take a moment, at least every 15-20 minutes, to bring your awareness back to your breath. It only takes one breath taken with full awareness for you to become more aligned with life, one with life, more centered, more peaceful, more connected, more loving. And the breath is always with us. And I love using the breath as an object for meditation. You can use other things like candles and pictures of your masters or whatever you have, sacred objects, and they're all good. But the breath is, I find, fantastic because it's hardly a thing, is it? It's not something that can really be contained. It doesn't really have a dimension in this world. And so as such, it's connects us very quickly to the present moment, which is also not a thing. So the breath is like a gateway into presence. So just settling into your body now, come down, 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 so that you can feel your toes, feel your fingers at the end of your hands. See if there's any stress or strain in your wrists and your elbows. Moving your awareness into your shoulders, seeing if there's any tension there, just maybe move them a little bit, relax them. And moving down your body, relaxing your chest, your torso, relaxing your hips and your thighs and your knees, relaxing your calf muscles and your ankles and your toes. Relax the arch of your feet and just settle down deeply into your body. The body is always aligned with the present moment. In this relaxed state, bring your awareness up to your forehead and see if there's any tension in your forehead. If there is, just smooth out those lines and relax. Become aware of your jaw. Become aware of any tension you hold in your jaw. Your tongue. The best position for the tongue when meditating is lightly touching the roof of your mouth, just behind your teeth, your top teeth. And as we sit in this very relaxed state, we bring our awareness now to our hearing, this incredible gift of listening. One of the problems we create in the world is too much talking and not enough listening. So in this moment we become hyper aware of every sound we can hear, not needing to judge it, label it, just becoming aware of that. You are that stillness that listens. Become aware of that stillness, which is your true beingness, that just listens without labeling, without judging. See how much calmer you are when you listen, without needing to strategize or respond. Just the receptivity of listening. brings us very quickly into alignment with this moment, with life. And when you are one with life, you are always at peace. So now take a deep breath in, right down to that belly button, blowing the tummy up like a big ball, up into your shoulders as well, and then a long, long sigh out. Long sigh, releasing the breath. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. And as you open your eyes, just become aware of how your body feels in this moment. How do you feel? A bit more relaxed, a bit more at peace. You can type in the comment box how you feel. It's always nice to get your comments. And always, well, tell us where you're from. We always like to get an indication of who comes to listen to us. Thank you.
That's really nice. Could have stayed there. That's lovely.
So tonight we're going to be talking about the journey of our soul. Our journey of our soul. And that's a very interesting concept. So just to lay a bit of groundwork from my position and where I come from. I apparently had a near-death experience when I was 5. I didn't find out about that until I was about 19 years old. And I went to see a psychic. I was worried about passing my exams at university. And my best friend then, he went to go and see a psychic because he was also worried about passing his exams. And she told him, no, you won't pass this year, but don't worry, you'll write subs in March and you'll get through fine. So he came back, and I was quite amazed because he had worked so hard. I thought he didn't have a problem about sailing through. And I thought, well, I've done no work this year at all, so let me go and see her because maybe she can give me some guidance. I didn't know what I was doing at university. And I went to see her, and she said, no problem, you'll pass. And that was like, so weird. I mean, how can I pass when I haven't actually done any work? But she was right. He didn't pass all the subjects, and I did. And I think he's never forgiven me for that. But she also told me that, she said, oh, you're very blessed. There's a lot of sun with you. And I said, oh, that's very nice. Why am I blessed? Well, so she said, well, God gave you another chance. And I said, well, why? What have I done? Why has God given me another chance? She said, no, but you died when you were 5, and God gave you another chance to live your life, and He gave you another life. And I said, no, well, I don't think so. I think I've always been here. She said, no, well, go and check with your mother. And when I got home that evening, I told her what had happened, and I said, look, this is what she said to me. And she said, well, she's perfectly right. Yes, when you were 5, you were in hospital. We were in Rhodesia, as it was there in Zimbabwe now. And I contracted, I think it was scarlet fever. And I was in hospital, and I died, apparently. My heart stopped, and I stopped breathing. And my mother prayed and prayed to the angels, she said, and suddenly I came back again. So I have no conscious recollection of that, but one thing I do know is that my soul has always had a yearning for something more real than this dimension. It's had a yearning for many, many years. It had a yearning to go home. And I know that from that age, from the age of 5, I started asking very, very deep questions of my mother. And she was quite a spiritual person, and she did her best to answer my questions. But I remember the story I always tell is one day she said to me, John, you can't understand all these questions you're answering. It's like trying to pour the whole ocean into a thimble, because she was a dressmaker. And she had a thimble there, and she showed me the thimble. She said, you can't put the whole ocean in this little thimble. That's the size of your brain, and you're asking all these big questions at the age of 5. But my whole life I've had an interest in things beyond this realm, or even this realm, wanting to know the depth of what this realm's about. And so quite early on I started reading books on near-death experiences, channel books, etc. And I started building up sort of a picture of the soul's journey from a very young age. And I've got a very inquiring mind. And one of the first books that I read, I actually just gave to Michelle this weekend.
Yeah, it was lovely.
And it was originally titled Mike, and it was written under a pseudonym, but the truth is it's written by he's now a judge, or I think he's probably dead now. He was a High Court judge in KZN, Natal. He wasn't a High Court judge then, he was a lawyer. And the title Mike is the name of his son, because what happened is they were coming back from Pietermaritzburg on the Escort Road, and his son was in a different car to the father, and he had a head-on collision and died at the scene of the accident. And then sometime later, his son channeled back to the father, and the father wrote this book called Mike. Except it's got a few new names. That's not called Mike anymore, but it's amazing, very simply written, and it's homegrown South African, which is really nice to hear the story of that, and it gives such an insight into part of the journey of the soul.
Absolutely.
You know, he said, don't think I was in any pain or discomfort at that accident, because I wasn't in my body. I left my body and I watched the cars collide. And that's quite reassuring, because so often we're worried about the people in accidents and do they suffer. And usually the soul leaves the body prior to an accident like that. It happens.
A few moments before it happened. And I have a very good friend of mine that happened to. And so firsthand from her, she said that she had a head-on collision and she was very badly hurt, but she felt nothing. She just hovered above this scene. So like John, I've always been fascinated. My mom was actually a tea leaf reader. Her name was Lulu. And she was very accurate. She never did it as a living, but she was connected. And she sort of saw things that people were very amazed at. So I've always had that interest, but sort of never could put it into context with religion and that. So really, I think my understanding and John's understanding is maybe like yours. You know, we've read books, we've had our own experiences, we've had friends who've had experiences, and it's just a huge question, because this is our soul's journey. So it's a big question, it's an important question, because we're not human beings in terms of this isn't it. If it was, then it's for me it's completely and utterly impossible that this is it. I think as an astrologer, which I was obviously drawn to because I'm a seeker like John, I was always fascinated with the human journey and with soul. And it's been remarkable to actually do thousands of charts over the years and to see the perfection. And really, when you look at the perfection of, for example, a birth chart, you have to then think, well, what was here before that? Because this is accurate. I don't know this person. So what is this that I'm looking at? There's got to be a plan. So if you have any interest in astrology, or if you have any interest in any of the metaphysical arts, then you understand that there's something more than just this life that we have in this body, because it's not random. So, you know, you can take a birth chart and 9 months later, what was happening, you know? And that little baby popped out at that time because that little baby was meant to pop out at that time. And that chart describes that soul. And then on another level, which I'll go into a little bit as we chat, it also has got a few indicators which give us some clues as to what past lives we've had before. Not so that we can actually like bask in the glory of being Cleopatra, but so that we can see what we've come in to deal with, so that we can actually heal and reach integration in our lives. That's why I do it. It's not for fun to actually say, well, you know, you're an Egyptian goddess or a beggar, because we've probably been all of those things at some point. But the lives that are shown in a chart are lives that are very specifically linked to this one in terms of what we've come to work with in this life. Yeah. Yeah,
so I don't think I was ever Cleopatra.
Mm-hmm. No.
That doesn't do it for me.
I was. No, maybe I wasn't.
But when I had my past lives done many years ago with a guy called Horace, who's passed on now, he was also an astrologer, and he looked up 7 past lives of me. He was like, that was what he specialized in.
Yeah.
And one of them was like Genghis Khan. It was a marauding raping, pillaging character. So I think I'm paying for my sins from that lifetime.
But we all are.
Yeah.
We all have been everything.
Yeah.
If the concept of past lives and reincarnation actually is real, which I believe it is, then we've been everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we probably haven't done.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's to understand that you are pure energy. Who you are at your core is not your name, it's not your body, it's not your race, it's not your religion. You are pure, unconditioned energy. And another word for that is unconditional consciousness. That's who you are. And then that consciousness, that pure energy gets conditioned. It becomes polarized, positives and negatives. And because it is energy, it doesn't get created. It doesn't get destroyed either. Energy you can't create or destroy, but it changes form. At the moment, it's occupying this particular meat suit, and 10 years ago, it occupied a completely different meat suit, a much younger, much stronger meat suit 10 years ago. And 10 years before that, a different meat suit. And 10 years' time, a different meat suit again. And so it's occupying, while we are embodied on Earth, meat suits. But when you no longer have a body, it occupies other realms, like astral bodies, for example. And so I believe that energy just changes form. It doesn't come, doesn't go. It's always here, always present, and just occupying different forms with different purposes. And occasionally it decides to incarnate in a human form, which is quite a dense form. I believe it's the second lowest plane of existence is the human form, and we become a human being. Now, in that it's quite interesting, because we become human, and yet it is the being. So the human part is the flesh part, it's the story in your mind part, it's your history, your race, your religion, your gender, your roles. That's the human part. But you are always the being. And being is none of that. Being is pure presence. So in my map of reality, I always give the human part on the horizontal plane, ruled by time. Yes, humans are ruled by time. But being is in the vertical plane, timeless, eternal. And it's not a thing. Everything that appears on the horizontal plane in time is a thing. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Being has no boundaries. And it doesn't have a birth date. It doesn't have a death date. It's eternal. So let's just look at, so I've just given you a bit of context to how I see ourselves. We are this energy, and that energy inhabits certain forms. One of the forms that this energy inhabits is the form of a soul. So, seeing as we're talking about the journey of soul tonight, or souls tonight, let's have a look at what is a soul. What is a soul? And my understanding, which is always evolving, but my current understanding, which has been my understanding for many years now, is a soul is accumulated, unconscious mind. That's really what it is. It's a globule of mind that's polarized through attachments to situations, events, and people. It has preferences, it has judgments, it has desires. So it's a globule of polarized energy which we inhabit. And that soul, by the way, has different aspects. You have your soul group, which is like your body, and inside your body you have 70 trillion cells or something. I never counted them, but a lot of cells. Now your soul body is the same. It's one body, but it has very many different subsects within that, and those are called your soulmates. So it's like one group of energy, like a shoal of fish. It all moves in similar directions, but it's made up of individual souls, but they all are collective. So you basically, the experience that you have directly relates to the experience that everyone else is having. It directly feeds into their experience, and their experience directly feeds into you. So you're a collective experiencer. And then part of that soul chooses to come down to this plane, for example, or many, many other planes, or many other planets, many other star systems. But right now we're talking about Earth. So part of you decides to come down into this particular body. And as I've explained before, but maybe some of you haven't seen it, it's rather like taking your hand and putting your hand into a goldfish bowl. Now the water would come here and all your fingers would be below the water. And the fish that's swimming around here would look at each finger and see a separate identity. And then don't forget, when you look up in a fish bowl, the water level becomes like a mirror. You can't see through it. So you can't see that there's a hand here. All you see are the fingers. And this one you name Peter, and this one you name John, and that one you name Mary, and that one you name Martha. And so John, Peter, Mary, and Martha are all interacting as if they're separate beings, but they're actually all part of the same soul body. And so we go through lifetimes and lifetimes interacting with these actors on a stage, but they're all you. They're all you. And those are your soulmates. Your soulmates are different aspects of you. Now, people have the idea that a soulmate is the one that you're going to meet and is going to make everything perfect in your life. And let me just burst that little bubble. No. Soulmates are here to push your buttons. Soulmates are part of you that's agreed to come down to earth and act with you in the human form so that you can grow, so that you can experience, and so that you can balance past energies which were out of balance. So they can be seen as sandpaper. They're here to smooth off your rough edges. They're here to push your buttons. And they're here to give you rich experiences as well. So that's the aspect of what soul is. But inside that soul, which isn't inside actually, because it's non-local. So souls are semi-localized. In other words, they appear in time and space and evolve in time and space. But inside that, there's something more pure. And that we give a name of spirit. Spirit is everywhere all at once. It is the pure essence of being that you always are. You eternally are that being, that spirit. Spirit is your direct connection to the divine. There's no separation between spirit and the divine. You are that. There's only one being, and you are that. Having an experience encased in a soul, and that soul comes into the human form, so you have the body and you have the soul, and part of that interaction is your mind and your emotional body. These are all the different bodies that the soul works with.
No, that's a really good explanation, I think, because it's such a big concept that it's almost difficult to... John's got a good way of describing very big concepts in ways that we can actually understand, because it's like trying to understand God, the word God. You know, it's impossible really, because it's not understandable. It's beyond our human understanding. But we all have a knowing about it on some level, I believe. There's a knowingness, because we know that there's this something inside us that's eternal. Otherwise, I mean, the people that are watching this do, because otherwise you wouldn't be watching it, I don't think. Yeah, but it's I love the way you describe the little fingers. And I think also soulmates are not necessarily your lovers. So soulmates can be members of your family, your mother, your child, your mother-in-law, the terrible boss, the lovely boss. It can be many different people, and it's not just one person. So those are people that you've chosen. I like the concept of, you know, when you're not in a human body, that you actually have you have a kind of a review. So let's just say you have a life and you leave the body and you have a review, and most of you would have probably heard that, and you look back and you say, right, you know, these are the things that I'd like to work on again after you've spent some time in a non-physical incarnation. And you say, okay, I want to come back and I want to work with, let's just say, trust, because I really didn't crack it last time. And so you assemble your soul group together, and somebody in that soul group says, okay, I'll help you learn trust. And you say, okay, how are you going to do that? He says, well, you don't have to worry about that. I know how I'm going to do it. It's not going to be pretty, though. So you buckle up here, and you're not going to probably remember me, but please remember me, because I'm doing this to help you. But I'm going to actually betray you. because what you're learning is to have trust in something other than the physical. So I'm just saying that's an idea, you know, or you come to actually say, I really need to learn to love myself, and you get dumped or let down, and you think at the time that why has this happened to me? Well, because your soul selected that as a lesson, as a journey, and that's what this realm that we're on is, a school. It's soul school, and it's not an easy place. But I think what helps is when we look at something like now, what's happening on the planet now. This is a huge soul growth time, and we all have to just know that on some level, on a very important level, every single one of us chose to be here.
Yeah.
So when we say, well, what the hell's happening, and why is it such a mess, and why is the planet such a mess, which it is, we chose to be here at this time, so what's our role in that? And that would have been scripted. So it's almost like you have a life diary before you come here, and you script that life diary. And I mean, I see that every day with the birth chart, that there's certain things that are scripted. It's going to happen. There's certain things that are definitely there before you take your first breath. So I mean, the way I like to explain a chart is that we're all connected, as John said. We're all one. It's like the sea or the ocean, or a huge big spider's web, let's just call it, a beautiful web of energy. And the way that your specific birth chart is your own individual little web within the big web, or it's the drop in the ocean. So you're still always connected to the ocean, but it's the drop in the ocean that you're living out now. And that's very, very well planned. There's no mistakes at all.
Yeah, and we often live our lives as if it's a mistake, as if what happened to me 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 50 years ago is a mistake. There are no mistakes. They're just energies that are coming back into balance and being balanced. So one of the reasons we come to Earth is to balance energies. We come for a couple of different reasons. One of them is to experience, just raw, pure experience. But the other one is to balance. And then the main reason why we come to Earth, your soul purpose, that's S-O-L-E, purpose, is to love. To love more deeply, to love more fully, to really experience the depth of your own being from this place of massive contrast. And Michelle mentioned the fact that we're going through a difficult time at the moment as a species, individually and collectively. So I can see this as graduation day. You know, before graduation, you've got to go through exams. And that's not a nice time. There's a lot of stress when you're faced with this. And right now we're going through this time of extreme pressure to see whether we really have learned our lessons, to see whether we really can apply the information. We've read the book, done the workshops. Can we apply that? And in my experience, what happens is people who are slightly unconscious, living their lives slightly unconscious, when a crisis comes, they go deeply unconscious. I see it over and over again. People who are almost awake, when a crisis hits, they become deeply unconscious. They go back into the old part of the brain, the reptilian brain, the fight or flight or freeze part of the brain, and it's all about protecting me and my family again, which is what's happening now. I mean, a lot of that's happening with the world, me and my tribe versus the rest. Then there are other people who are slightly more awake and they go along life. When a crisis happens, that crisis pushes them further awake. It pushes them further into presence. And that's been one of my coping mechanisms in life. When a crisis hits, I become still, become absolutely still. There's no thought in my mind when a crisis hits. I become more aware. And so that's really the division between people at the moment. And we can see it around us. People who this crisis has taken them into fear, and those who this crisis they've used this to take them further into love. Love is a state of connection with all that is. Fear is a sense of separation, me and my tribe, me and my race, or whatever. And I believe that this is almost like the sieving of the wheat, separating the wheat from the chaff. because this is a time of sorting things out. Where are you really? Are you worshipping the God of fear, or are you worshipping the God of love? Are you worshipping the God of disconnection or the God of connection? So this is the time of soul graduation right now. A very, very important time for all of us, for all of humanity. And this is a choice that we get to make. And the choice that we're making isn't between white and black and American and Chinese. The choice we're making right now is between your true essence, which is love, and that which you're not, which is fear. That's the choice that we are being presented with at this moment. We've had this choice many times before, and possibly we've made the incorrect choice and had to come around a few more times again. But now we've got the opportunity again to choose more wisely this time.
Yeah, I wanted to just share something with you. Many of you may have heard of her, Anita Moorjani. I'm sure many of you have. She's a woman who's a lovely teacher. She would not tell you the entire story, but she had terminal cancer and her organs were all shutting down completely. I mean, she had massive tumours right the way through her body, and her family were sort of getting ready to bid her farewell. And she died and left her body. And she had an incredible out-of-body experience, and miraculously, it's a long story, but came back and was healed. And I mean, this was completely impossible in terms of medicine. It cannot happen, that what happened to her. So she was miraculously healed. But she came back with incredibly amazing accounts of her time where she was out of her body. And this is, many people have as well. Ibn Alexander, we were just watching something last night of his. Many, many, many people have had these experiences. A lot of people have had the experiences and not been able to tell of them because of fear of retribution or being exiled or whatever. But she just says, and I just love the way she explains it. So in that time that she was actually not in her body, this is what she said. I saw my life intricately woven into everything I'd known so far. My experience was like a single thread woven through the huge and complexly colourful images of an infinite tapestry. All the other threads and colours represented my relationships. Every person who had ever come into my life, whether they related to me in a positive or a negative way. Every single encounter was woven together to create the fabric that was the sum of my life up to this point. I may have been only one thread, yet I was integral to the overall finished picture. Seeing this, I understood that I owed it to myself, to everyone I met, and to life itself, to always be an expression of my unique essence, which is love. Trying to be anything or anyone else didn't make me better. It just deprived me of my true self. It kept others from experiencing me for who I am, and it deprived me of interacting authentically with them. Being inauthentic also deprives the universe of who I came here to be and what I came here to express. Everything belongs to an infinite whole. I was intricately, inseparably enmeshed with all of life. We are all facets of that unity. We are all one, and each of us has an effect on the collective. And that's from the book Dying to Be Me. It's a fantastic book. It really is a life-changing book when you read that because of her account. And it's told in such a down-to-earth, such a real way. And experiences like that have been confirmed over and over and over by people who have crossed over and come back.
Yeah. And that book,
very
the title of that book is interesting, Dying to Me. In other words, she had to die to discover who she really was, dying to me. And there are many books that are similar, entitled to that. There's a book, I've got about 4 or 5 books here written by medical doctors. The one that we revisited this weekend was by, Michelle mentioned earlier, Dr. Ibn Alexander. And his first book, Proof of Heaven, became a New York Times bestseller. Because he was a highly, highly skilled neurosurgeon. He was a professor. And he believed, like most surgeons do, most doctors do, that consciousness is a function of the neurological activity in the brain.
Yeah.
And that's obvious. We don't have anything outside of the brain. The brain is it. And what happened with him is an interesting story. He developed an E. coli infection in the brain, and within hours his brain started melting, turning to pus, and he started fitting, and then went into a coma. And he slipped into a coma for 7 days. And obviously being a very, very respected surgeon, the best help was sort of drawn on from across the world. I know that in the book they talk about connecting with the Israeli medical system and getting the best antibiotics for him and doing everything that they can. And after about the third or fourth day, they said to the wife, listen, we should switch off the machines now, because there is no chance. Even if he did come back now, his brain is gone. It's just pus. It's just been eaten away. There's nothing there. And she was part of a prayer group. And she said, no, let's leave it on for a while longer. And on the Saturday, they went to her and they said, look, we've really got to switch it off now. And at that time, Eben sat up in bed. The sun went to him, first of all. And Eben sat up and, he said, I'm back. Which is an impossibility because he didn't have much of a brain left. But he was back. And the miraculous thing with Dr. Eben Alexander is that he regrew his brain. Now, they said even if he did recover at that stage, he wouldn't have a brain. So he'd be a cabbage for the rest of his life. He got back all his skills. He's gone on to practice his profession, neurosurgery. Brilliant man, really brilliant man. But what's interesting there is his brain went. So his consciousness couldn't live inside the brain anymore. So it went to other realms. And it's a beautiful, scientifically proven experiment where there was no way consciousness could carry on perceiving in the brain state that was there. There was no brain. And the story that he brings back about where he went to is truly fascinating. It's amazing because quite a few doctors, I've read their books, and they tend to go to an underworld. They don't tend to go to a higher plane straight away, because I think it's because of their academic and logical left brain training. So it takes a bit of time of adjustment before they can go to the higher planes. And it's a fascinating book. His book, so Proof of Heaven is the one that tells a story, but the one that I would really recommend of his is called Map of Heaven. And the film which we rewatched this weekend is called Conversations, and he's in conversation with Dr. Raymond Moody, who's been doing near-death experience investigations for over 50 years. And it's such an incredible conversation. If any of you want it, you can just message me and we'll find you a copy. It's an amazing conversation. And one thing that came out of that was that is how Eben is quite positive about the future of mankind. And he says we're going through a time of, this was done 5 years ago. But he says we're coming up to a place of massive change, he said. But this is a process of awakening, he said. But prior to that, we've got to go through this examination time to check to see whether you really know it, whether you can live it in your heart, or whether it's just been a mental understanding. And so he predicted that we were going to be going through the time that we're going through at the moment. It's very, very interesting. But the fact is that we have numerous highly qualified people who have gone through this process of experiencing the realm beyond this realm, or realms beyond this realm. There are many realms. So it's not just fluffy woo-woo stuff that we're talking about. There was another Dr. Sam Pernier, and he did a lot of scientific experiments where he also operating, and he put things on the ceiling hidden away. And as people floated out the body, they could actually see these, and they come back and say, "Oh, we saw it, and there's no ways consciously." And they could say, "Well, these were the instruments used." Meanwhile, their face was bandaged. How could they see who came in and who left the room, and the conversations were done? So these have all been recorded over time. So there's no doubt in my mind, I mean, that we are eternal beings having different experiences. But the main thing here is that we are here to experience, we're here to balance, and most importantly, we're here to love. Yeah. That is the most important.
Because that's what we return to love. And that's also been confirmed by everybody that's come back. This overwhelming love, just unbelievable. None of them can actually describe it. Because it's beyond words. You can't describe it. They try to describe it. And they also, all of them, including the one I read, Mike, of the young chap, he just said there's absolutely nothing to fear about death because it's just so easy. He said the other way around, coming in, isn't easy at all.
That's the part you must worry about.
He said that's not easy, but dying, he said, is very easy. He said you just slip off and off you go into another... And and then you deal with whatever you're dealing with there on that level. But it's love. It's a level of love and understanding, and you don't have anybody judging you. You judge yourself. You're the one who says, okay, yeah, I did that. So there's no big finger in the sky saying you're a bad boy. So these are all maps, and they're all open to interpretation. But for me, the concept of having a soul that's been around many times before and choosing this life, actually as a map, if you take it as a map, it helps you to take responsibility and to not be a victim. Because if you chose it, you chose your childhood, you chose all those people that hurt you, you chose to have your heart broken, you chose to fail, then there's no blame. There's acceptance to what you've chosen and what you can now do with that and how you can heal. And, healing is to integrate. So whenever I do a chart, I say, yes, these are all different aspects of the faceted diamond that is you. But you are all of it. You're not these facets. You're not these different disparate parts. That's a part and that's a part and that's a part. But you are the animating force behind all of that. You're not separate at all. And it's to return to that. So this is a return to love. And we are just walking each other home. I think, who was that? It was Rumi.
Ramdas.
We're just all walking each other home.
Yeah.
And we are.
Yeah.
And, it's not as if some people are, if somebody is more advanced on the spiritual path, that doesn't mean they're better. It just means that they're a couple of standards ahead of you.
Correct.
If somebody's a matric, you don't look at the grade 1 and say, oh, stupid idiot, he's only in grade 1. No. You don't do that. You just say, oh, he's in grade 1 and he's a matric. That's so there's no judgment there. Because you've been everything anyway. So again, it just leads to acceptance.
Yeah.
And I think either you accept that it's all random, or you accept that nothing's random. Because there's no in between. It's either everything's random and everything's just a big fat mistake, or that, it isn't. So I think that's just another way of looking at it, Which one is it? Is it random or not?
There was another teacher, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was a profound teacher. I mean, we were so lucky as a species to have a man like him as a teacher on earth. And when he was explaining this to he had 8 children, and he was explaining it to his teenage daughter one day, and she says, "What, you mean I chose you as a father?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Well, I must have been in a hurry that day." I love that. And other people say, "Well, I must have been drunk when I chose this script." He
also said to his daughter once, "Oh, I'm going to go and teach now. Teaching.
Yeah, going on Oprah that day.
I'm going on Oprah or something." And she said, "Why?"
Yeah.
So he said, "Because people like what I have to say. I've got something to say and I've got something to share, they listen. And she said, I don't understand why they would listen to you.
yeah. She said she heard he wrote a book on parenting.
Oh,
Said,
that's
Dad,
right.
don't tell me you wrote a book on parenting. You know nothing about parenting. Nothing like children to bring you down, is there?
Absolutely. Level it all
us,
out.
Yeah. So that does, as Michelle says, when you start to look at the world through this belief pattern or this map, I love calling them maps, it does remove the guilt, it does remove the blame, it does remove the anger, and it makes forgiveness so much easier when you can see that you've made it all up. And nothing and no one was being punished. You've never hurt anyone more than they were gifted by what you did. And you've never been hurt more than you've been gifted by their actions at a higher level, at a soul level. And when you start, you don't have to see that. You don't have to understand it, because understanding is in the head. But it's a case of feeling the forgiveness, the releasing, the surrender, and the love here in the heart. That's a successful life. A successful life is when you leave your body and you look back and you say, yeah, I loved fully in every and each situation in my life. And my working, my doing was an outpouring of my love. It wasn't in order to get my needs met. I served with love. That's a fully successful life. That's a fully successful life. And I think we're all on that path somewhere, making a few mistakes along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Part of it. It's part of the journey.
Yeah.
It's part of it. We're not supposed to be perfect.
Yeah. And the interesting part of all of this as well, and comes across in everyone who's had a near-death experience and come back to tell us, is that the time as we know it does not exist. There's no such thing as a past life. There's no such thing as a future life. They're all here now. And what you do now in this moment, what you think and what you feel and what you say, and how you act in this moment influences and changes the past and influences and changes the future, which is incredible, because we were talking about, being born with an astrological sort of map of and yet everything is being influenced by your thoughts and your feelings and your actions in this moment. And the one point that is connected to all other points is the present moment. And the more centered you are in the present moment, the more you bring balance to all the imbalances that from other experiences, because the present moment is the one and only place of balance in all of creation. It's not that you're going to find balance in the future. It is only to be found in the depth of presence in this moment. So the more that you can go through your day with presence, the more you dissolve your karma.
Yes. And I see it very similar is the tapestry. That if you heal one thread, so if you heal right now, so you're in presence and you're healing this right now, that thread goes out to influence the whole tapestry. Whether it's not actually past life, but whether it's on different timelines, but it's this tapestry. It affects the tapestry. So when you're healing this, you're healing ancestral stuff. It's not just now, it's much, much bigger than we can actually conceive of. And the last thing is that I want to say is, Anita also just said, there's nothing to fear.
Nothing. And
she said that she realized that with such a huge wake up, that she had spent her life very stressed, very anxious, and she said there's absolutely nothing to fear. So she battles to kind of get stressed now, because she knows that there's nothing to fear.
There's nothing to fear,
and she's got complete trust because she's been there.
Yeah. And the other thing that they come back with, and the message is so strong. Each one of you watching this right now, each one of you is so loved. So loved. If you could see the love that's pouring to you in this moment, you wouldn't need anything. You wouldn't need anyone to validate you. You are so loved, each one of you. And that comes across so strongly in most of these experiences that we have records of near-death experiences. You are so loved. You don't have to seek love. It's here already.
You are it.
It's your true being is love. Yeah. Okay, shall we wrap it up? Any questions, please type them into your box. We won't get them to now, but we'll get to them a little bit later. So if you have questions or comments, send us a few hearts. We love hearts and hugs. We love that, yeah. And if you enjoy, what we share with you, then consider coming on our next journey. It's a 13-week journey to freedom, and that we begin the next course on the 10th of August. The 10th of August.
It's such a rich journey. I really mean that, and people that are on it will vouch for it.
Yeah.
We've had such an amazing time building a community on each group. And it's online, but we managed to really address some really, really deep issues and deep stuff, and there's healing happening. And that's what we're here for. And we call it an adventure of the soul, and that's what it is. So join us. Have a look. It's the information's on our homepage of journeysofawakening.com, and you can just contact us if you'd like to join. But consider it. It's a really beautiful journey together. Okay.
And if you enjoyed tonight, or you'd like us to share more of this or different aspects, anything you want to know, just type it up there for us, and we look at getting to those subjects at a future satsang.
Cool.
Great. Shall we ask Michelle to do a meditation, guided visualization, just to put us in the right energy for the new week? And when Michelle is finished, don't just zoot out of here, because we have an affirmation for you, special affirmation for the week coming up. So just stick around and we'll give you that one.
Okay. All right. So let's just take a centering breath in. Nice deep breath in, and a releasing breath out. And another lovely deep breath in, and a sigh out. Just let it all out. And just connect with your breath normally as it comes in and then flows out. And on each out breath, just relax your body a little bit more. Just soften your whole body and just drop into this present moment. I'd like you to just imagine now the sky above your head. Imagine the night sky. Millions and millions and millions of twinkling stars. Planets. Endless, infinite. Imagine yourself floating around up there among those twinkly stars. Imagine the silence. Just imagine if you could feel what it would feel like to just be in the bliss of floating in space. No barriers, no borders. Entirely peaceful, completely and utterly at peace. Imagine that you are part of everything you see and everything you interact with as you float around up there. That you can feel into eternity. And I imagine being one of those sparks of light. Imagine that spark of light coming all the way down through the atmosphere, through the Earth's atmosphere, and dropping into the middle of your heart. Ping! right there in the middle of your heart, connected with all that is, with the heavens and eternal eternity. And then really connect with Mother Earth beneath your feet. This beautiful, amazing planet that we are living on. Imagine yourself in a scene from nature. Smell the smells, hear the sounds, and feel the love you have for this amazing planet that we live on. For Mother Earth providing us with everything we need daily, minute by minute, second by second. The water, the food, the stability. Just feel that. Feel your gratitude for the gifts that we are given every day. And now bring that gratitude up from the Mother Earth, through your feet, all the way up. And let that gratitude just be placed in your heart, along with the spark that came from above. And just fill yourself with gratitude for this moment, for this life, exactly as it is. For this moment in time, for your role at this moment in time. And take that gratitude that you're feeling right now into your week with you. If you feel yourself being spun out by situations, just bring yourself back to that very sacred place in the heart and the gratitude in this moment for being here. And you can take a deep breath in and releasing breath out. And another one in and a releasing breath out. And you can open your eyes when you're ready.
Thank you, that was lovely. I could have stayed floating in space. In that infinite stillness. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So now we're going to choose a card. We've got a whole lot of affirmation cards here. It's my turn to choose tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to choose this purple one. Okay, I am an open channel for light and love to enter this world. And that reminds me of the prayer from Rumi. I am the hole in the flute that the Christ breath blows through. Listen to my music. So this is saying, I am an open channel for light and love to enter this world. And if you can see yourself as a hole in the flute, just empty. And the Christ breath, which is love, blows through you, and your life becomes an expression of that love. How beautiful is that? I'll put a copy of this up on the Facebook page and onto our WhatsApp group. You can join our Journeys to Awakening WhatsApp group. The link is on our website. And I'll place it, Journeys of Awakening. I'll put it there as well. Yeah. Awesome. May you have a blessed week ahead. May you remember what your primary purpose is. It is to love. It is to be present. And there is nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. Nothing real can be threatened. Just remember that. Only that which is transitory can be threatened. That which is real cannot be threatened. Give up the fear of death. It is an illusion. It is an illusion. Nothing real can ever die. So have a beautiful week further. We wish you well, and we'll see you again on Sunday. Those of you who are on our course, well, we'll see some of you tomorrow night and some of the others on Thursday night, but we have an open one again next Sunday. That's Satsang with John and Michelle every Sunday at 7:30. Thank you, and I bless you all, and thank you for joining us tonight. It's been lovely.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bless you all.
Thank you. Good night.